Well, now let's turn to Martin Breckbilt. Martin this evening is going to finish up this trolley that he's been working on. And I think tonight he's going to paint it. So Martin, welcome.
Yeah, supposed to be the end of it all. Part 5, God knows. I didn't think it would even be more than part 3, but here we are with part 5, making an end of it. There's where we left off 2 weeks ago. A roof that's close to being done. It's still got a lot of things to be added to it, but that's where we paused or hit pause, and we're back. So Jim said paint, so be it. Let there be paint. I don't have my Latin up to date on the word for paint, but I'm 35 years out of that school anyhow. Anyway, so some paint. It's a mixture of flow quill for one color and polyscale for another. I don't care what kind of paint I use as long as it's the right color. And if it takes a smaller brush, so be it. If it takes 3 more coats, that's fine. Just keep going. The orange is the flow quill for anybody who cares. It's actually Amtrak red, but you know, it was the right orange as far as I was concerned. So sometimes I don't pay too close attention to the labels either. But there's the first draft or first pass on paint, just to splash some on and get a feel for it. Well, it's sort of going to look like that. And there's the interior. That's just some plain old Minwax cherry stain, which is a pint can will last you in model railroading probably for the rest of your life. If you don't do any interiors, you probably won't use it. It'll probably last you in your heirs' life too. The stuff doesn't go bad if you keep it sealed. Then you just slop it on and swirl it around, and now it's cherry. I wanted to use mahogany. I didn't have any. I'm just too cheap to go over to the store and buy a pint can of mahogany. Actually, it's not a short trip anymore. It's not, Home Depot doesn't carry Minwax anymore. Okay, so go to the underbody. This is where all the excitement is, with all those bags of parts from 2 weeks ago. We have bolsters, car bolsters. They actually came with the trucks. So they actually didn't come out of my parts bin. They actually came with the trucks. There were Q car drive and a trailing truck. The rest of this stuff, we got resistors, an air tank, a compressor, a fuse box, and a brake cylinder with a slack adjuster. Those are all either a Q car or Wagner parts. The truss rods, the needle beams, that's just evergreen styrene. That's a piece of channel, a piece of 3/16 inch, and another piece of channel on the other side, just sandwiching it, just to give it enough room to put these queen posts, which are white metal castings. I usually don't like to use these because they're so large on the sprue that you can't really nail them into the plastic. These are just surface mounted with some goo and CA. And then we have the fun of running our truss rods. It's just 28 thousandths brass wire. You bend it. Well, actually, I soldered an anchor to each end of it, give it something to go down onto the floor underbody. There's a nut bolt washer casting on the end of it. But you just bend it, glue it one end, bend it to horizontal here or parallel to the floor, slip on a turnbuckle. Those are T-sheet. Meet it from the other direction. You've got truss rods. It's just that easy. There probably could be other stuff you could put underneath there. That tank is actually one you make from some Walthers castings, the 2-end castings, just a piece of brass tubing out of the parts bin. Just glue that together and not worry about it. Oh, a little more paint. So now we've added yellow, signal yellow, I think, but all kinds of other things we've got. We've got glazing. Now that we have paint on, we can glaze windows. This is loads of fun to do. Reaching in here with, it's actually polycarbonate from, which is Lexan from Clover House. It's 10 thousandths thick, so it's fairly stiff. And actually, I measure this from the outside. Then you just reach on the inside with some pair of tweezers and a piece of carbonate with some goo all the way around it and slap it into place. Takes a little colorful language and some manual dexterity development, and the glazing's in place. It's just that easy. So the ends are done. Doors, ends. We got anti-climbers. Those are cue car parts. There's a couple of controllers here. We'll get a better picture later. And radial couplers, we've added those in from cue car again. Steps. These are old tin-plated steel folded up steps from Walthers. They're ancient. They're older than everybody here, probably. And a heavy-duty pair of shears and some grinding and sparks flying and so on and so forth. They fit right in there pretty neatly and are held in place with some goo, a little CA. They're never coming back out. Well, I guess if you took a pair of pliers and yanked on them like a dentist, they might come out. So there's just another view of the underbody, out just painted black. You know, when I say it's painted black, it's actually Brunswick green. If you can tell the difference, let me know, or don't, as the case may be. I had a bottle of it. I figured close enough to black. No one's going to notice. I can't tell with my eyes. Okay, the steps are installed. We got the anti-climbers. We got the couplers. Now you can see the control pieces. They're all pre-painted, mounted to a little piece of styrene, and then put in there as a unit, because planting those individually piece by piece, almost impossible to do without taking this roof piece back out, which holds the end together. And you spend so much time gluing it together, you'll never get it apart anyhow without breaking it. So it's easy to prefab this as a single unit and drop it in. Oh yeah, and a retriever, another cue car part. Something's got to bring those poles back down, which we'll talk about later. And there they are. Look at that. There's the roof completed. We've got a roof walk, just a couple of pieces of HO 3x12 or 10, I don't remember which. Some poles from, I think those are Wagner poles, actually, which were actually mounted with 256 threaded stock. It's threaded on at one end, it's shoved through the hole in the roof, and there's a nut threaded from the other side, holding it down. They'll swivel perfectly fine on that thread system. Hold downs, those are just made from scrap brass. You bend those, bend them again, put a little loop on the end with a small pair of pliers, glue them down. They're holding the poles in place. You can buy commercial ones from cue car, but I figured I'll make my own. I have the brass and I have the time. I say that glibly now that I have the time. I was making slides not less than an hour ago for this. And the roof mat on the end, that's actually a current lines or Wagner part. Those are white metal castings. Those are kind of cool to play with, to put on, because since they are white metal and they're all segmented like this, they actually bend very neatly to the compound curve. So you get this radius and the radius this way. They'll conform to that roof shape. So I pre-bent each one at a time, pre-bent one, painted it, glued it in place, flipped the roof around, and did the other one. So I wouldn't get confused which one goes to which end. There are probably subtle differences between the ends. Just a little bit of goo and some CA and they're on. So all that angst and suffering for making the roof perfectly shaped, it's all hidden now. It's underneath stuff. So, you know, you get close, it's probably close enough because you're going to cover it all up anyhow. There's a close-up, a little bit closer view of it. So you can see this, how this is shaped, just a bend, and a loop around. Small pair of pliers bends that around, that brass around. But you can see this just folds around, wraps around, conforms to the shape, and it's on. Roof glazing. I don't know if you could see this 2 weeks ago or not, but there's actually glazing in the clusterary roof. It's green, and that's I didn't have my stock of old green plastic roof material laying around, so I made some. You may have heard of PowerPoint. I think we've talked about it somewhere once upon a time here. It's just a green rectangle on some transparency film. You make it in PowerPoint, you hit Control P and print it out on your printer, and you feed a piece of transparency film from it. Everybody remember what transparency film is? For those overhead projectors that nobody's used for 30 years? Because we use PowerPoint on an LED projector now, right? I probably have 3 cartons of the daggone transparency films. So if you really need some badly, desperately, let me know. It's sort of a rarity now, I think. Unless you work at a physics department, I think they're still using it. Okay. You got to do something with the interior. I can't have a naked interior. If the roof comes off, you got that many windows, you got to add something. So we have seats. First set of seats I pulled out of my stock of seats. I made about a half a dozen seats, put them all together, and then I decided I should test fit these, and they don't work. They were too wide. They were for a regular passenger car. Traction car is 1.5 feet, roughly, more narrow or narrower than a regular passenger car. So you can't put full-size passenger seats in. These are narrow gauge seats. Grant Line comes to the rescue. In the 4th drawer from the bottom out of the parts filing cabinet, there were the bags of Grant Line seats. I spent almost all day today painting these things because that's just the kind of obsessive person I can be, and gluing them into place. Oh yeah, and I found I had a seat for the motorman. So there's a seat for the motorman at each end added, not just a white metal casting. It's another cue car piece, brass wire down a piece of styrene, and just plant the styrene. It's done, one at each end. Okay, how are we going to keep the roof on? That roof is a flush fit roof, and the body's flush. It doesn't fit down over the body. It doesn't fit down inside the body. And I thought, I'm going to try something I've never done before, because I've tried other things to do this, and I've never been 100% happy. They work. They're clumsy. They're a little awkward and difficult to set up all the alignment. This, I thought, well, we're just going to use magnets. These are neodymium super magnets. You need a pair of pliers to get them apart. There were 20 in here, I think. Yeah, it says 20. Getting these apart, you need 2 pairs of pliers, one to hold the one you want and one to hold the rest. They are potent. You do not want to get your finger in between a single one and the rest of the pile. Don't ask me how I know that. If you drop them, they're easy to find them. So here's what I did. As you might recall, the instructions had an idea to put a cross member in. Well, I thought, okay, that makes sense because that'll add rigidity for the entire body, but we don't want to put that in last because it's going to get in the way of everything else. So I put it in. There are 3 of those magnets glued in here. 1, 2, 3, that direction. You can't get them wrong because they align themselves. A little bit of goo, a little bit of CA. You only need to glue one down. The other 2 will bang tight to the one that's glued down. So put this where it is. It's glued in place. Over here, we got 3 more magnets on the other side of that piece of wood. And I marked them so I know which direction is which. This piece I didn't glue initially. I test fit it, make sure the roof aligned left to right, front to back. Once I had it where it wanted to be and it was correct, then I went back and I glued this piece in with just some CA. So that's all that holds the roof on. 3 magnets, well, 6, 3 on each piece. I think it's just barely enough. You can feel it. If you let go of it, it will pull itself right to where it wants to be. I'm thinking I might actually add another magnet or 2 underneath and on top, just to increase the amount of field. I wanted them apart from each other, not actually touching each other because I wanted to get it apart. If I had these actually touching each other, I'd never get it apart. This is not your refrigerator magnet. These things are potent. Okay, and there's the roof. Okay, that's why the other reason I wanted to get another set of magnets. I'm thinking maybe also might pull it down just a little bit more. Added a bell to each end because I forgot. In the pile of parts for the control units at each end, there was a bell in the bag. Well, how can I resist not using the bell? A little bit of flow quill brass paint, drill a hole, pop the bell in. We have a bell at each end. And I believe that's the end. I have made an end of it. We reached an end point. Well, okay, a good enough endpoint. I could do 1,400 other things to this car if I really wanted to spend the time on it and be totally obsessive. But I'm trying to keep that under control. Keeps me from being on medication.
It's a beautiful model, though, Martin, just as it sits right now.
Well, I haven't lettered it.
Yeah.
And I'll probably use dry transfers, and I'll probably letter it for my Chambersburg, Greencastle, and Waynesboro, the CG&W, also known as the Come, Go, and Wait. It was a real line. Tracks used to run right in front of my grandmother's house.
I like it. I like the paint scheme.
The paint scheme I sold from my Lakeshore Electric cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Martin?
Yeah, throw them out there.
Would you use the magnets again, Martin, now that you tried them?
Yeah, I probably get. They're probably more than adequate for HO models. I probably want to get larger ones for O scale in the future, or use more of them. They come in, you name the size, they come in it. You go to their website, I've forgotten who it was now. K&J Magnetics.
Yeah.
You can spend your life shopping for magnets there. Every configuration, shape, size, length.
Would you get them as strong as you got them this time?
Oh yeah, you get at least as strong.
Okay.
And that's dependent upon the size of the magnet too. Bigger magnets got a bigger magnetic field, but yeah, those are nice. They were, they were useful.
Martin.
Yes.
It's Pat. Those poles on the top, I noticed a bit of a difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
Is that one magnet? Is that?
Well, wait a minute, where is it?
There you go. Yeah.
No, they're nowhere near the magnets.
No. I mean,
I had the one flip when I took the picture. I had it flipped around the wrong way.
Oh, okay, but they're both the same, right?
They're pretty much the same. I had the one flipped around the wrong way when I took the picture. I was just so happy to have the daggone thing on the car. Take a picture. I just grabbed it and took a picture. I was like, later, I had the same problem you just had. I was like, what the heck's wrong with that pole? Oh, it's backwards.
I couldn't figure out what was wrong, the difference.
You can, they're backwards.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's like
Martin,
one's under the other.
I was taking photos and making slides an hour ago. So
do you draw power from the pole from your overhead?
I don't, but I could.
Yeah.
That drive truck is insulated, so it'll run off regular track.
Yeah.
Martin,
I like having the regular track insulated systems because it gives you options.
Mm-hmm.
Martin, the roof mats, is that for personnel to stand on when they're doing any kind of maintenance up there? Like down over the curve kind of seems.
It protects. Yeah, it's climbing up there.
Yeah.
And it also protects the roof a little bit from the poles, but it's for the feet, protecting the roof a little bit.
Okay.
And some cars actually have roof mats on the sides here, little ones.
Yes.
You see the combines and the freight motors and just have baggage doors. They'll have a ladder up the side. There'll be a roof mat on the side, small roof mat. So that's for like get out the ladder, climb up there and fix, and hook what I don't have on here, hook the cable from the little loop, that little tiny hole there, down
Yeah.
to the retriever.
Yeah.
So somebody has to get up there some days.
And hang on for your dear life.
Well, Martin, thank you so much for doing it. It was a real treat to see it. Thank you.
All righty.